Hi everyone, Amber here from Majestic. Welcome back to my channel. We are on month 9 of Cotton Cut's Puzzle Mystery Quilt, Tree of Life. I have been sewing up Moonlit in the large size. This is our last month that we are building blocks. So next month we are putting everything together and I'm so excited. This month we have 4 different blocks. So we have 9A, 9B, a larger 9, that's upside down, twist it around, a 9C, and 9D. So we are making 2 of all of these. It is so fun. Make sure that when you finish that you post your picture with your Flat Nancy in the Cotton Cuts group so you have a chance to win some great prizes. Again, thank you to Cotton Cuts for allowing me to be an ambassador. I was so privileged to get the neutral colorway for this one, and I'm so excited to see it all come together. And it's my first time doing the large, so thank you for being here for the journey, and I hope you enjoy this month's tutorial. All right, so it is month 9. I have my clue here. As you can see, we have 4 different sections. Where it says the pieces in the pack, I have them laid out here, mostly in the same order. I have my color card as always, the wool pressing mat and mini iron. I'm sewing on a Singer 5528 with the Orfill thread and a universal 7010 needle. So let's get started. So our first section, it actually says 9A and 9B, and we need 2 of each of them. So I am just going to divide these numbers here in half for the tutorial. If you're making them all at once, you want to make sure that you're making the correct quantities. So we need 2 large A triangles, and I still have to look at my fabric card because on here, fabric A is, or it shows it as a light, but in reality, my fabric A is a dark colored. Okay, and we need 2 of the small C triangles. We're making 2 flying geese, so I'm just laying out everything first, and I'm going to sew them both at the same time. So I'm going to put them right side together. And I'm using, like always, the full 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, and I like when I have more than one sewing them at the same time, so that way I don't have to keep cutting my thread in between. To me, it saves time and thread. Okay, and then for these, we are going to press our triangles to the top right to the smaller sides. So I like pressing from the back first, kind of helps set that crease, and then gently opening. Okay, I'm going to do the same for this one here. I'm definitely making sure not to tug on it. Okay, and then now we're going to add our other C triangles. So put them right sides together. Okay, and I'm going to do the other one as well. So 9A and 9B sections are pretty similar, so it's nice they're having us do them at the same time. I try to make sure I'm trimming my threads as close as possible. That way it makes it easier in the long run when we are putting our whole quilt top together. And again, just pressing this open with the seams to the top left now. Okay, I'm going to do that for the second one. I cannot wait to see the quilt all together. I really love the blues and grays and that subtle beach theme. Okay, so now for step 2, we're going to use one of these from step 1, and we need to put a C square to the left, and then we have 2 different sizes of C rectangles. We have this really long one here, and we have this short one. So for this one, we are putting one of the shorter to the right-hand side. So it doesn't matter whether you sew the square or the rectangle first. I'm just going to start on the rectangle just closer, so, and just making sure I'm lining up my edges. I've gotten to the point where I just don't clip them. If you need to do that, make sure that you're pinning or clipping in place. And then these seams are being pressed towards the outside. So I'm pressing that back first and then gently opening. My guess is when we have these like skinnier blocks, they're going to be some type of border. All right, and then we have our square on the left. So I'm going to put that side, right sides together, making sure I am matching it up. And you should be making 2 of these. Like I said, I'm just going to do the one for the pattern or for the video. But you should have 2 when you're all said and done with month 9. I like to save one to sew up live. Okay, and again, we're pressing our seams to the outside. So I just did the back first. And now this here. All right, so this we are labeling section 9A, and you should have 2 of these. So I'm just going to set that one to the side. And now with our second flying geese that we made, in step 3 here, we're going to do something very similar. We need a C square again to the left, but this time we need that larger C rectangle to the right. I'm just grabbing that here. Sometimes the fabric likes to stick together. All right, so I'm going to start on the right hand side. That's a much larger piece. So making sure I put them right sides together and lining up the edge.
Let's
And again, we are pressing our seams to the outside for this block as well. Press that back first. And then gently open. Okay, and now we have our square to that left-hand side. So again, I'm going to line them up. And this seam will also be pressed towards the outside, so we're pressing it to the left towards that square. All right, so you should have 2 of these when you're done. And this is our 9B section, so you want to go ahead and label that. So now we're going to sew up our section 9C. This is the largest block out of the 4 that we have for this month. So down here, we are making 2 of them. So there's 6. So I'm dividing that by 2. So I need to make 3. And I need our A small triangle and our D small triangle. So again, I'm making 3 of these. I'm just being mindful because my colors in real life are reversed. And even though this is month 9, I still keep making errors and just going by the picture, and my brain forgets that dark is light and light is dark. Right, so I'm going to sew all 3 of these at the same time, just like I did with the flying geese. So we're making sure they're right sides together. I like hand cranking, especially on that point. I find that hand cranking it helps so it doesn't get sucked down into the feed dogs. And also sewing these all 3 at a time. This first piece kind of acts like a leader piece for the next ones. And our third one, right sides together. I'm always a little bit extra careful, making sure I'm not stretching these.
That one.
With it. And then these are going to be pressed towards our A side. So that is the darker color if you're doing Moonlit, or the top right. I really like pressing them from the front first. It does help it, especially this is going to be a large block with a lot of seams coming together. So I feel like any extra presses that I can give it are very helpful. So now for step 2, we need to make 2 of these, but I'm going to do 1. So 2 of these step 1 that we just used, I'm going to set to the side. And now we need to add a D square to the bottom of one of them. And D in this case is our light color. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put that right sides together. And then with squares, especially because this is 2 half square triangles, I always double check to make sure I'm correcting or sewing the correct side. But I've definitely sewn the wrong side before when I take it over here without clipping. Okay, and then this one we are pressing towards the bottom, towards our rectangle. Okay, and I'm just going to set that to the side for the moment. Because now for step 3, we need an A square and a D square. This one I'm making sure I have the print right side up. The lighter color fabrics, when they're white, sometimes they're so hard to tell the correct side.
I'll go with it.
Okay, and this one, our seams are being pressed up towards that A block. And now we're on step 4. So we need to join our step 3, which is the one we just sewed, to the right of step 2. So our D fabrics on the bottom and our D triangle is to the left hand side. These do have a seam to match up, so I'm going to put them right sides together, but then I like to turn them towards me. Our seams are pressed in opposite directions, so they should nest perfectly. And I just clip them together, and then I clip the edges. Always clip that seam first and hope that it doesn't move when I start to sew. And I don't move that clip off until the last possible second to try to keep that centered seam lined up as much as possible. Okay. And for this one, we are going to press to the right hand side, which has the 2 squares. And gently press the back first, and then nicely open. I have a little tail here. Again, I do clean up as I'm going if I can. Right, and I'm going to set this to the side. We are now on step 5, and I need another D square, which again is that light colored fabric. And I need one of our original pieces from step 1, but I need to make sure I rotate it so that the A piece is in the bottom right corner. Okay, so I'm going to put them right side together.
How?
Okay, and for this one, we are pressing towards the bottom. So I'm going to press that first and then gently open it up. And you can see that like my bottom is over like 1/8 of an inch, and then on top the right side. I don't worry about that. This is not something that I would unpick it and resew. I just line that up in the seams and make sure it's hidden there. Okay, so now we need step 6. We need a large S triangle and 2 smaller C triangles. So we're going to make another flying geese. I like to start on that right hand side. You match it up nicely. I really like that there's 4 different sections to this month, especially on the large quilt. When you're doing the same section over and over again, it can be a lot. So this kind of breaks it up, makes it go by really quick, or at least in my opinion. Okay, so we are pressing to the right hand side again. Then gently open. And now I'm lining up my left hand side. I don't think it matters if you start on the left or the right for flying geese. I always just do the right because I'm ring-handed and just kind of my preference. But I believe whatever side works best for you is fine.
I'm going to start with on that side. That.
Okay, and then this one here, we're pressing to that left again. Okay, and I'm not moving that one yet because now for step 7, we need to rotate step 6 so that F triangle is pointing to the left. And then we need our step 5 that we did, and we are lining it up on that left-hand side. Now there's a center seam and there's a center to this flying geese. So I am going to put them right sides together. And then I like to turn it facing me and line up the edge, and I kind of peel it back to see if I can make sure that that center seam is lining up with that point of where the triangles come together for that flying geese. It's a little bit tricky, so I just do the best that I can. And I'm going to clip them and take it to the machine.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for this one, we are pressing our seams towards the side that has the flying geese, so towards the right-hand side. So this is where I do like to give it that extra press. We have a lot of seams coming together in the center here. And gently opening it. When they come together like that, sometimes I find that the seam kind of wants to turn back on itself. I'm going to give it a press, and then I don't want to pull to warp it, but I do want to open it so that my point looks okay. It was kind of flattening out. I mean, it still looks a little bit flat at the top here, but it's not terrible, so I'm not going to redo it. Okay. Now we are on step 8. So we are joining step 7. So this is the flying geese that we just made to the right of step 4. And if you notice, step 4 has our A up here and then the D all along the bottom. So I'm going to line that up. Our center seams right here should have an A square and a D square. So this center seam should be aligned. So again, I am going to put them right sides together, turn it towards me. If you've pressed everything correctly, your seams will nest. So again, I'm clipping that first and then clipping the rest of the side.
Good. Like this. Now I'm not gonna take any speed.
Okay, and then for this one, we are pressing our seams to the left-hand side. And gently opening. And this block is getting a little bit big. So that's where I like to go back over and press some of the other seams where they're coming together quite a bit. Here I'm trimming this thread. I give it a little tug. If it doesn't pull out on its own, then I'll clip it. I'm going to lift this up to the side. We're not done yet, but we do need this last AD half square triangle. So for step 9, we need to add a C square to the right of it. So I'm going to put that right sides together. Okay, and we are pressing our seams to the right towards that C square. Okay, and we're still using this piece. So now for step 10, we need to add a D square to the left of our step 9, and then we need to add an A square to the left of that one. So I'm going to start with the D square first, put that right sides together. I can. Okay, and for this one, our seam is pressing towards the right hand side, towards the half square triangle piece. Okay, and then now we need to add our A square to the left of that. So again, I'm taking my time to line them up. And this one is going to be pressed towards that left-hand side. Okay, I'm giving all the seams a nice press. So now we are on step 11, and we are going to sew this step 10 piece to the top of what we finish in step 8. So our C square should still be on the right. Our half flying geese with the S triangle should be on the right hand side. And then this should come right sides together. So I'm going to put it right sides facing down, but then turning it so I can see all the seams. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So just take your time. I'm clipping at each of my seams first, making sure that they line up the best I can. Then once I do that, then I'll clip the edges here. Right, and bring this to the machine. This is definitely a long piece, so just trying to keep it as even as possible and hoping that it doesn't move where those seams are lined up. Okay. And for this one here, we are pressing our seams down. So I'm actually going to flip it so it's this way. And give the back a nice press. Especially where all those seams are coming together. And then gently open it. I find that the larger the seam, the more it sometimes wants to flip on the opposite direction on me. So I just kind of make sure that it is going in the right direction. especially where those more than one piece of fabric comes together, like on this edge here. And it lined up pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. All right, so this is our 9C block, and you should have 2 of these, so go ahead and label them. All right, so we are on our 9D section. We are making 2 of these. So we have 2 flying geese we need to make. For step 1, we need a large D triangle and 2 C. And step 2 is also flying geese, so I'm going to lay them out at the same time. So this is what we need for step 1. Step 2, we need a F large triangle and 2 smaller A triangles. All right, so like I said, I'm going to sew them. I'm going to start with the top one, put them right sides together.
Just got going back.
And this way I can sew a bit quicker. I'm not wasting thread because I'm cutting it all in between. And it helps actually pull the next fabric through, so it works out great. There's not a lot of pieces in this block, so I don't mind doing a couple steps at the same time. But if there are a lot of different pieces, then it can be easy for me to get confused with that. So I will still do it step by step. Okay, so these are being pressed to the top right. And so now we're going to repeat with that left-hand side, making sure we're putting them right sides together.
I'm going to
And the same for this one here.
tell you what. Well, I can up back.
These are going to be pressed towards that top right-hand side. So if you are sewing up Tree of Life, let me know in the comments if you are also sewing up Wild West. That is the next Puzzle Mystery Quilt. We are on month 3, and sign-ups had just ended, or should be just ending when this releases. So I am Team Josie for that one. I'm sewing up a large Josie, so if you weren't already aware, I do have tutorials for that one as well. All right, so now we are on step 3 because we just did our step 1 and step 2. So we need to join step 2 to the top of step 1. So we just making sure that our D triangle is on the bottom, the F triangle with the A pieces. So again, I'm going to put them right sides together. And then for this one, we are pressing our seams to the top. So it's going to be that towards the AF flying geese. All right, and then our last step is we just need to sew a rectangle to the top. So again, putting them right sides together.
We need to open the directly together.
And this one is also being pressed towards the top. So this block was also pretty quick. The block C was definitely the longest one this time. A nice press. All right, and this is our section 9D, and you should have 2 of these. All right, so we have just finished up month 9. We have 4 different sections. We have section A, B, I have them reversed, C, and D. Make sure that you post your Flat Nancy photo in the Cotton Cuts group, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you found it helpful, I'd love if you can give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. It helps my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you again to Cotton Cuts for allowing me to be an ambassador, and I'll see you next month where we're putting it all together. Enjoy! Bye!